Deep Dive with David Stendahl, where we trade without ego, no emotion, no greed, and no opinion. Before we begin tonight's video blog, please read over our trading disclaimer and remember to trade smart and accept the reality that trading futures is risky. This presentation does not provide buy-sell recommendations, and our information is strictly provided for educational purposes only. As always, trade at your own risk and analysis. Hey, it's David Stendahl with tonight's Deep Dive. Today is October 26, 2017, and I'm going to be talking about two markets today. The primary market is going to be cotton again with the ETF of BAL, and then I'll touch a little bit on RBOB since there was quite a few things that occurred here on the Deep Dive. But primarily with cotton, we have a mixed bag when it comes to the trends, and we've got a sideways or kind of non-technical rating for the market. But we're in a tight support resistance zone, and that's really what I want to focus on here. So let's dive right into it. This is cotton. Today's bar was down. We had cotton down a little over 1.5% today. And the key here is that we have a number of support levels as the market rose earlier, in a few months ago. And since then, we keep hitting some of these support levels, finding ourselves with support and resistance. And so we're right now stuck between some of these little modest levels and this major level right through here. In fact, if I put the cursor on, I'm just going to connect a few. They're off a little bit, but they're all basically in the same area. We've got a 21 right here, which is what is the key one that you'd really want to be watching. Then we've got a 50 through here connected to this level, and then all the way back to this 37. And so what I always do is I try to see just how strong the support levels are by connecting these levels. I call these support and resistance levels signal levels. So anytime I talk about that, you understand what I'm referring to. In any event, what we are doing is we've been having difficulty in cotton being able to break above the yellow line, which is the 50-day moving average. We had the 1 day just a couple of days ago here on the 24th where it bounced above, but then it quickly sold off again. So it still is basically finding ourselves below the 50-day moving average and stuck between that and this support line, these cyan colored lines. So what does this mean for us? What it means is basically that the systems are short. They got short on the 25th yesterday, been able to profit a little bit to the downside, and we would anticipate that the market would come down and as a minimum touch or come very close to this support level, which is at 66.73. That's this line right through here. Then if we're able to continue this trend, a trend would emerge from this, and we would have a trend start to fall to the downside, and we would literally have to find some type of breakage of this support line right through there. So if we take a look at the website, I've set up a couple things. One, I want to show you of the profitability. Here's cotton, where it's doing fairly well on a per contract basis. We got hogs doing well, and we've got Australian dollar doing well. But if we look specifically at cotton, I'll show you how many systems we have that are short. Let this thing come up here, cursor down, and what you'll see is a number of systems. We just recently had a weekly system that went flat, but we have a number of short systems. I just want to point this out. A 45-minute short, 90-minute, 120, a 60. We got a 45 down here and a 60. So these are all short-term systems, all anticipating that we're going to come down to that support level. And if we're able to penetrate and break that support level that I've been referring to, then the market's got further to fall. If we take a look at the targets on the market, this is the zone right through here that's important. It's basically 67, call it 50, and 66, 63. I'll just round a little bit. That's the zone where the market, if it should penetrate and start to fall below, it should easily be able to break down and come down to this level. And these both these levels right there correspond to essentially these levels right through here, this cyan colored line here and this through there. If we're able to break that, then what you'll find, if I pull back here, you'll see that this again is where we are for these support levels. Then what we'll have is some drops, some modest little drops that it'll come down to certain levels, and then eventually, if it should really fall, it'll come all the way down to this level. But it is important to realize that even though I've just been connecting this line, this line, this line, and this 37, even when you go back even further, going into these resistance lines, if we're above it and we're coming down to it, even though they're colored differently, they're still going to be acting as support. And this goes back quite some time, all the way back to April of 16. But you can see that there's major resistance. So on a short-term basis, we'd like to see the market come down to this. We'd be satisfied. The systems would liquidate themselves, and then potentially some type of a trend would emerge, either a break to the downside or this nice consolidation would break again to the upside. But again, that is where it is extraordinarily strong, and that's why we're going to be watching this. So whenever we look at these lines, we always look at the most recent one, because that one is closest to what's been happening in the recent past. So again, that level is 66.73, key number. So I want you to at least be aware of that. The other market I'm just going to touch on here really quickly is RBOB. If I can find it here. Here it is. RBOB was up almost 1% today. But what it did is it came up to a major resistance level. In fact, we're above it a little bit right now. But we had a trigger here in the elastic level, which is a pivot high. Now, that's not to say that the market is going to quickly reverse from that, but it is a telltale sign that the market is tired, having come up to this resistance level. And if we're able to break above this, well, technically we are above it right now, but sometimes you'll see a little retracement and a testing of it. But theoretically, if we're able to stay above this and the next few days really start to rally to the upside, you'll see that there really isn't going back in time any major resistance for quite some time. So there's a resistance gap that is popping up here, obviously inside of the RBOB. But because it has come up, and in times in past, let me just shrink this up a little bit. Oops, wrong way. When we do get these breaks, and they correspond with a cyan, or excuse me, a magenta line here, which is the elastic level pivot, you'll see that the market has a tendency to sort of base and then reverse course. And so we've had numerous occasions in the past where we'll have these slight reversals to the market. They can last just a couple of days, or they can last a week or so. And in certain cases, when we get these conditions, so like right through here, on very volatile, very strong surges, when the market gets tired, kind of similar to what we're dealing with right through here, that the market has rallied too fast, too far, and when you get this elastic level pivot, that the market has a tendency to rest. Now, sometimes that resting can be just like sideways, or it can reverse, and it can be quite profitable to go on the short side. As a minimum, if you're long the market, you want to be extra careful, given the fact that we have broken back above this. That's a little bit tired, and it could actually start to reverse course. I would say, for the most part, that if you are long, just be careful and see as to whether or not the market does reverse. If we find that tonight and throughout the remainder of the week, basically tomorrow, we'll see as to whether or not the market's actually able to rally from that side. So those are the key markets that I wanted to address today on the deep dive. And so here's a number of things that are popping up for RBOB, as I just mentioned, and it's that tight consolidation, that there's a lot of potential opportunity. Systems are short. It comes down to that resistance level. The systems will remain short. It's not until the market does an about face and starts to rally that those systems will unwind themselves. But because we have a number of systems, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 systems that are short, it bodes well for at least the potential for the market to come down to that support level. And if it should break, then there's going to be even more profit that's going to come our way. So watch cotton, watch RBOB in particular, and we'll take a look at another market tomorrow. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.